It all started with a car parked outside a grocery store. Not double parked. Not blocking anything. Not in a handicap space. Just parked. But that didn't matter to the woman standing next to it, phone in one hand and righteous fury in the other. This car doesn't belong here. I'm calling the tow company right now. She didn't know the man behind her was watching. Quiet, black, and very much the owner of the car. She also didn't know he was Mayor Elijah Brooks, the youngest and only black mayor in the city's history. But that wouldn't stop her from making a scene. She'd learned the hard way. It was a crisp Saturday afternoon in Fairfield, a small, predominantly white suburb outside of Atlanta. Mayor Elijah Brooks had just wrapped a neighborhood event and stopped by the local market to pick up ingredients for his mother's Sunday dinner, her famous oxtails. He parked his black Mercedes in the front lot, tucked neatly between two lines. No official plates. No driver. Just him, low-key like always. As he exited the store with two bags in hand, he spotted a white woman circling his vehicle like a vulture. Short blonde bob. Aviators. Cell phone out. You already know what time it is. This car shouldn't be here, she told the dispatcher. I've never seen this vehicle in this neighborhood. It's probably stolen. Elijah stopped a few feet behind her. He waited, and waited, and when she turned around, her eyes flickered with something dark, confusion quickly replaced by contempt. Can I help you? She asked. That's my car, Elijah said coolly. You're on the phone with a tow company for my car. Oh, really? She scoffed. You sure about that? Yes. And if you'd like to check the registration, I've got it right here. But you should know. She cut him off. No. I don't believe you. People like you are always up to something. The bags in his hands suddenly felt heavier. Before Elijah could respond, the tow truck pulled into the lot, loud and aggressive. The driver hopped out. Which car, ma'am? That one, she said proudly, pointing at Elijah's Mercedes. Wait, Elijah interrupted. You're not towing my car. This is illegal. You got ID to prove it's yours? The driver asked, skeptical. Elijah pulled out his wallet and handed him both his license and vehicle registration. The driver's eyes flicked from the name to Elijah's face, then widened. Wait, Brooks, you're... Karen snatched the papers from the driver's hands before he could finish. Don't fall for it. They steal people's identities all the time. That was it. Elijah had been disrespected before. He'd faced racism before, but this level of brazen ignorance, in broad daylight, in his own city? He took out his phone and dialed a number. Chief Harper, he said. We've got a situation at the Midtown Market. Another one. Karen froze. Wait, who did you just call? Elijah locked eyes with her. The police chief. You're about to find out who I am. Minutes later, two police cruisers rolled up. Officers stepped out with urgency. One of them, Chief Harper himself. Mayor Brooks, sir. Are you all right? Karen's jaw nearly hit the concrete. Mayor. Her face drained of all color. Yes, ma'am, the chief confirmed. You just tried to tow the mayor's personal vehicle and falsely accused him of theft in front of witnesses. The tow truck driver slowly backed away. Karen's voice trembled. I didn't know. I thought... You thought a black man driving a luxury car didn't belong here, Elijah said, his tone even but razor sharp. You didn't care about evidence. Just your assumptions. I didn't mean, but you did. You meant exactly what you said, and you said it in front of everyone. People had gathered now. Shoppers, store employees, even a few kids on bikes. All watching, all listening, all seeing her for what she was. Elijah could have pressed charges. He could have embarrassed her on TV. But instead, he turned to the crowd. This isn't about her. It's about a culture that teaches people that black men don't belong, that we're threats in our own neighborhoods. that our presence is suspicious. He looked directly at Karen. The next time you see someone who doesn't look like they fit in, ask yourself why you feel that way. Because maybe it's not about them. Maybe it's about you. Silence. She said nothing. She couldn't. Because in that moment, she wasn't the victim. She was the warning. And Elijah, he was no longer just a mayor. He was a symbol. As Elijah drove away, bags in the back seat, windows down, he thought about all the young black boys who'd be told they didn't belong, about the girls who'd be followed in stores, about the men like him, forced to prove their humanity before they were heard. And he whispered to himself, "We don't have to prove anything to anyone. Our existence is not a threat. Our success is not a crime." Because sometimes justice isn't loud. Sometimes it doesn't wear a robe or hold a gavel. Sometimes justice is driving away, while the world watches in stunned silence. But just when Elijah thought the story was over, a letter arrived at City Hall. No return address. Inside, a printed photo. His car, spray painted with the word, imposter. And suddenly, it wasn't just about one woman anymore. Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories. A manila envelope sat on Mayor Brooks' desk. No name, no return address, no stamp. It hadn't come through the mail. Someone had hand-delivered it. Inside, a single photo of his Mercedes, spray-painted across the hood in bright red letters. Imposter. Elijah sat still for a moment. Then, a second paper fell from the envelope, an old newspaper clipping, yellowed and torn. The headline read, "First Black Mayor of Fairview sworn in today." Elijah's face was circled in black ink. Below it, someone had scribbled in Sharpie, "Won't last long." Elijah knew what this was. Not just a threat, but a warning. For most of his life, he had walked the tightrope of respectability. No criminal record. Top of his class. Church on Sundays. Never raised his voice. Always respectful. He thought success would shield him. He thought doing everything right would make him safe. But now, even as mayor, he realized that to some people, a black man in power was still unacceptable. He picked up the phone. "Chief Harper, I need surveillance footage from City Hall. Someone left something in my office. And this time, it's personal." Later that evening, Elijah was scheduled to attend a town hall forum, an open event where citizens could voice concerns. He walked in, calm and collected, but the moment he stepped onto the stage, the room shifted. Whispers, side glances, and then he saw her, Karen, sitting in the front row, hair pinned back, hands folded in her lap, a smug smile on her face. She wasn't done, not even close. During the public comment section, she stepped up to the microphone. "Mayor Brooks," she began, "I just want to say how disappointed I am with how you humiliated me in public last week. All I did was try to protect my neighborhood." Gasps echoed through the room. Elijah narrowed his eyes but didn't interrupt. "And now I hear you're receiving threats? Maybe it's because you're turning people against each other with your politics. Maybe the community just doesn't trust someone like you." That did it. The room erupted in noise. Shouts of disbelief, murmurs of support, cries of outrage. Elijah stood slowly. "Let's be clear," he said into the mic. "You didn't try to protect the neighborhood. You tried to erase me from it. And now, someone has taken that hate and turned it into a threat. I've been quiet long enough. But if anyone here thinks I'll step down, give up, or back away, you don't know who you're dealing with. I am here to stay, and I will protect this city, all of it, from people who think they can silence truth with intimidation." Thunderous applause followed, but Karen, she simply smirked and walked out. Back at City Hall, the security team reviewed the footage. There it was. 2:37 a.m. A shadowy figure in a hoodie slipping into the building through the loading dock. They moved fast, knowing where the cameras were, avoiding every one of them except one. A partial shot, a glimpse of their wrist, a distinct tattoo. Elijah leaned in. Pause that. Zoom in. It was a Confederate flag, inked in black and gray, with the letters CCM beneath it. CCM, the chief muttered. Could be Confederate County Militia. That's a white supremacist group just east of here. Real quiet, real dangerous. Elijah sat back in his chair, heart heavy. This wasn't about a car anymore. It wasn't even about Karen. This was organized. This was targeted. And it had just gotten personal. That night, Elijah parked his car in a secured garage. He walked inside his home, locked the doors, turned on every light. But as he entered the kitchen, he noticed something chilling. His family photo, the one of him, his late father, and his mother, was missing from the wall. In its place, a new photo, one he hadn't seen before. It was a photo of his house, taken from across the street. A note taped to it read, "Nice family. Shame if anything happened." Elijah's hands shook. He wasn't just the mayor anymore. He was a target, and someone out there wanted him gone. The next morning, Elijah sat in his late father's study, a place he rarely entered. Dust lay thick on the shelves, and the faint scent of old paper and tobacco clung to the air. He pulled out an old photo album, one of the few things he had left from the man who raised him. Inside was a photo of Elijah at 12 years old, standing proudly beside his dad, a sanitation worker who never finished high school but believed in books, dignity, and hard work. "They'll try to make you feel small," his father had said once. "But your ancestors built this country. Your job is to make sure they never forget that." That memory hit differently now, because Elijah knew this wasn't just about him. It was about every kid who had been told they didn't belong. Every father who had been called boy by someone half his age. Every dream that got stomped out before it ever had a chance to shine. And whoever was behind this threat, they weren't just trying to scare him. They were trying to erase him. Back at City Hall, tensions had reached a boiling point. Half the town was rallying behind Elijah, furious over the racist threats and inspired by his courage. The other half, stirred up by online trolls, flooded with whispers that he was stirring the pot, bringing race into everything, and not really one of us. And Karen, she was fanning the flames. She'd been interviewed on a local podcast called Voices of Fairview, where she claimed Elijah was weaponizing victimhood and attacking good, God-fearing Americans. Worse, she was organizing a protest right outside City Hall, and she had backup, men in tactical gear, trucks flying flags, a wall of faces convinced that Elijah's existence was an affront. But Elijah, he refused to hide. He stood at the window, looking down at the gathering crowd, and whispered, "I was elected to serve, not to shrink." That night, Elijah's phone buzzed. It was from his mother, Gloria Brooks. She lived an hour away, retired after 35 years as a nurse. Tough as nails. Didn't scare easy. But tonight, her voice trembled. "Baby, someone's been calling the house. Hanging up. I thought it was just prank kids, but tonight, someone left this on my porch." He heard the rustling of paper. "It's a photo of you outside City Hall, with a red X over your face." Elijah's stomach sank. "Mom, listen to me. Lock the doors. Don't answer the phone unless it's me or the police." She hesitated. "You think I raised a man to break under pressure?" she said, her voice hardening. "Let them come. I've got something for him." Elijah chuckled, even as a tear rolled down his cheek. But the fear, it sat like ice in his chest. The next day, Elijah met privately with Chief Harper, the police chief who had backed him since day one. They reviewed the footage again, zooming in on the tattoo they'd spotted, the Confederate flag with CCM under it. Harper confirmed it, Confederate County Militia. A known hate group. Quiet. Dangerous. and just 30 miles away. We think someone in Fairview is working with them, Harper said, feeding them info. Elijah nodded. Then we bring them out. But we do it on our terms. He had a plan. One that would smoke them out, reveal who was really behind the threats, and remind this town exactly who they'd elected. But there was one thing he hadn't planned on. As Elijah left City Hall that evening, walking briskly to his car, he noticed something strange. His driver's side door was already open. He froze. Every instinct in his body screamed to turn around, but he stepped closer, cautiously. And then he saw it. On the driver's seat sat a single item. An old, worn Bible, the same one his father used to carry every Sunday. Except this one had a bullet lodged in it, and a handwritten note on top. "Your father isn't here to save you. You're next." Elijah staggered back, breath caught in his throat. They had broken into his car. They knew his father's memory. They were closing in. But what they didn't know was that Elijah wasn't running. Not now. Not ever. The next morning, Elijah didn't go to City Hall. Instead, he drove to the east side of Fairview, the forgotten side. The part of town most folks pretended didn't exist, where sidewalks were cracked, storefronts boarded up, and opportunity long gone. But it was also the place that raised him. The corner where Ms. Lorraine ran the community center, where Mr. Frank handed out free haircuts every Saturday, where barbershop debates turned into life lessons. Here, he wasn't Mayor Elijah Brooks. He was just Eli, the kid who used to run errands for his grandma and play pickup ball in church parking lots. He stood in the middle of East Main and spoke with the people who knew the truth, who felt the fear, who had seen the flyers going around, the ones calling him a race baiter and a problem. "This ain't about me," he said, his voice steady. "It's about every black and brown kid who gets told they're too loud, too poor, too different. If I don't stand up now, they'll think we don't matter." The crowd didn't cheer. They didn't clap. They nodded, because they understood. That same day, Elijah met again with Chief Harper and his trusted team at a safe house. The plan: to bait out whoever was behind the threats, and expose them in public. Step 1 was surveillance. They traced the flyer printer to a small shop 2 towns over, recently visited by none other than Karen herself. Turns out, she'd paid for awareness materials with cash. But that wasn't all. Security footage showed Karen entering the shop with a man wearing a jacket with the CCM insignia, the same hate group known for stalking activists and public officials across the state. "She's not just stirring the pot," Harper said. "She's stirring it with poison." Step 2 was the town hall meeting, already scheduled for the following week. But now, it would be more than just a meeting. It would be a reckoning. But while Elijah planned to expose the truth, Karen was planning something of her own. Inside her kitchen, she sat with 2 men in their 40s. One was tall, with sunburned skin and arms like steel cables. The other, lean with a hawk-like stare, loaded a duffel bag with equipment. "We're not just protesting anymore," Karen hissed. "This man humiliated me. He made me look like a racist fool in front of everyone. I want him gone." The taller man nodded. "Don't worry. We've done this before." Karen's eyes gleamed. "Then make sure it's permanent this time." That night, Elijah sat with his daughter, Alana. She was only 10, but old enough to understand what was happening. She slid her sketchbook across the table. Inside was a drawing of a man standing in front of a burning house, holding hands with a little girl. "That's us," she whispered. Elijah's throat tightened. "Are you scared, baby?" She nodded. "But you always say brave means doing it scared, right?" He pulled her into his arms. "That's exactly what it means." They stayed like that for a long while, father and daughter, holding each other while the world outside tried to shake them loose. Later that night, Elijah got a call from Chief Harper. "We just found something. You need to come down to the precinct now." Elijah arrived, heart pounding. On the table sat a file, photos, receipts, and a typed message mailed to a local news outlet, but intercepted just in time. The letter. It was signed by the Confederate County Militia. But it wasn't just hate speech. It was a blueprint for something they called Operation Clean Sweep. A coordinated plan to storm City Hall during the next town meeting. And leading the list of targets? Mayor Elijah Brooks. Elijah's eyes scanned the page. The final line read, "Make it messy, make it loud, and make sure the mayor doesn't walk out." He looked up, fists clenched. This wasn't just a protest anymore. It was a hit. And the town didn't know what was coming. Elijah sat in the police precinct, the fluorescent lights buzzing like static. Chief Harper stood nearby, his jaw tight, fingers tapping the table. "You cancel the meeting," Harper said. "There's no way we can guarantee your safety." But Elijah shook his head. "If I cancel, they win. They get to say they scared a black man out of his own city. I won't give them that." Chief Harper sighed. "Then we go public. Let the town know what's happening." Elijah leaned forward. "No, we don't scare the town. We show them what courage looks like." Meanwhile, Karen was holding her own kind of meeting, one without cameras or reporters. She stood in a dusty barn on the outskirts of town, lit only by bare bulbs hanging from rafters. A dozen men circled her, armed and angry. "The mayor thinks he can humiliate us," she snarled. "Thinks he can parade around in his fancy suit and tell us what our town is supposed to be." She held up a blueprint of City Hall. "Tomorrow night, we take it back. No more tolerance. No more silence. We remind them, Fairview doesn't belong to them." A cheer rose up, savage and deep. That night, Elijah recorded a message. Not for the press. Not for politics. For the people. Standing in front of the Fairview Community Center, he stared directly into the camera. "Some of you might be scared. I get it. I'm scared too. But being black in America means you live with fear. You don't let it stop you. You don't let it steal your voice." He paused. "They're coming for me. But they're really coming for us. Because I represent the progress they can't stand. So tomorrow night, if you believe in justice, I want you there. Stand with me. Speak with me. Don't let them drown us out." The video went viral overnight. From teachers to teens, shop owners to janitors, people started organizing. They called it the Unity Stand. The next morning, Elijah walked into City Hall for one final briefing before the meeting. But instead of being met by staff or supporters, he was handed a letter. A formal request for suspension, signed by the majority of the Fairview City Council. "Due to security concerns and divisive behavior," it read, "we feel it is in the town's best interest for Mayor Elijah Brooks to be placed on administrative leave pending investigation." Elijah blinked. "They want to bench me? The night before a hate group plans to assassinate me." Chief Harper snatched the letter from his hand. "They're trying to cover themselves. If you die on their watch, they go down too." But Elijah wasn't stunned. He was furious. "Then let them try. But I'm still showing up tonight." That evening, Elijah's mother, Camille Brooks, retired schoolteacher, and known in Fairview as Miss C, called a neighborhood meeting in her front yard. "They think they can silence my son. But they forgot where he comes from. They forgot who raised him." Dozens gathered, many who had never attended a town meeting before. Seniors, youth activists, ministers, and business owners. They came holding candles and signs. "Fairview is for all. No fear in our city." They weren't just backing the mayor. They were fighting for their future. As the sun set, the town hall filled slowly. Security was everywhere, but the air was tight with tension. Then Elijah arrived, despite the council's order, despite the threats, despite it all. He stood before the crowd, hand resting on the podium. But just as he opened his mouth, the lights went out. Gasps echoed. Then a voice rang out in the darkness, chilling and low. "Fairview belongs to us." A loud crash. A window shattered. Screams broke out. People ducked. Someone pulled Elijah to the floor. But then, over the chaos, a small, clear voice cried out from the back. "Daddy!" It was Alana. She had snuck in, hiding in the back row, wanting to see her father speak. And now, in the middle of this orchestrated nightmare, she was in danger. Elijah crawled toward the sound of her voice, heart thudding, breath short. But all he could see was shadow, and all he could hear was the sound of footsteps moving toward his daughter. The courtroom was dead silent. Karen stood on the witness stand, her voice trembling, her gaze lowered. No more arrogance. No more snide remarks. Just the shallow breathing of a woman who realized, far too late, that her prejudice had collided with power and lost. Mayor Elijah Grant, the man she once tried to humiliate, sat poised in the front row, not with vengeance in his eyes, but something far more haunting, disappointment. And that hit harder than any fine or ruling. Judge Helen Cortez leaned forward, adjusting her glasses, scanning the courtroom before speaking. After reviewing the footage, witness statements, and Ms. Blake's prior complaints filed with the city, it is clear this incident was not an isolated misunderstanding. It was an act born of racial profiling and personal bias. Karen's attorney whispered something into her ear. She didn't respond. She couldn't. 'Cause what could she say? The woman who had once strutted across the street, ordering a tow truck and demanding the arrest of a black man for simply existing in a parking lot, was now facing public disgrace, fines, and possibly even a civil lawsuit. But before the gavel fell, Mayor Grant stood up. "Your Honor, may I say a few words?" Permission was granted. Elijah walked slowly toward the front, his tailored navy suit pristine, his presence commanding. But it wasn't just the office of mayor that people felt, it was the quiet weight of dignity. He turned to Karen. She flinched. "I don't need to humiliate you," he said calmly. "You've already done that to yourself." The courtroom held its breath. "I didn't press charges because I wanted revenge. I did it because people like you have gotten away with this for too long. And if it wasn't me that day, if it was just another young black man standing beside his car, not the mayor, would he be in jail right now? Would his record be stained? Would his reputation be ruined? Would his life have been changed forever?" Karen began to cry. Not the kind of tears that beg for sympathy, but the kind that arrive when you finally have to confront the truth about yourself. "I didn't come here to destroy you, Karen," Elijah continued. "I came here to show every person watching that you can't treat people like they're less than human and expect silence anymore. This silence has cost us too much. This silence has buried our voices, our hopes, and sometimes our lives." The audience, once frozen, slowly nodded in agreement. The room felt transformed. After the ruling, as reporters flooded the courthouse steps, Elijah didn't speak to the press. He went straight to his car. The same car Karen had tried to tow. Only now, it bore a different kind of weight. Not the burden of injustice, but the pride of survival. That evening, back at City Hall, Elijah walked into his office and found something waiting on his desk, an envelope. No name. Just a message scribbled in messy handwriting. "You didn't have to go that easy on her. But thank you for showing us what real power looks like." He didn't need to know who wrote it, because that was the lesson all along. Real power isn't loud. It doesn't wear a badge or drive a tow truck. It doesn't shout across parking lots or hide behind company policy. Real power is quiet. It walks with dignity. It fights back with grace. And when the moment comes, it lets the truth do the talking. But just when Elijah thought the day was over, a call came through. It was from his assistant. "Mr. Mayor, you're going to want to see this." He flipped on the local news. The camera zoomed in on a different parking lot. Another black man. Another Karen. Another confrontation caught on tape. But this time, there was no mayor to stop it. Life lesson. In a world that often sees color before character, we must rise with courage, speak with truth, and walk with dignity. Because change doesn't always come with noise. Sometimes it comes with presence. And every time we choose justice over silence, we give someone else the strength to stand. Would you like help generating an image to represent this final scene? Let us know where you are watching from in the comments section. Don't forget to subscribe, like and turn on your notification bell so that you can be the first to enjoy our amazing stories.